Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to the Remake review, the mini-series where I share my thoughts and feelings about 3 chapters at a time from the Final Fantasy VII Remake. This review will contain spoilers all the way throughout for the whole game and lore, so if you are yet to finish the game or it's a 1997 original, please click off the video and save it for when you've finished either or. With that being said, let's mosey. Chapter 10 begins as we see Shinra begin to set up their plans to broadcast the announcement for the Sector 7 plate collapse, or something along those lines essentially. This is also the first time we see Reeve Toesti and how he differs from the rest of Shinra, as he is not supporting the idea of dropping the plate. As he is basically the director of urban planning, so he's the one that is in charge of making Midgar run, and he's not a bad guy in all of this. He just works for Shinra. So that's obviously nice to see that we have Reeve being put into the picture here. But soon after we cut back to the sewers, which is where our party has ended up, and we begin the chapter by fighting Apps, or as he's now renamed to Abzu, which is a bit of a silly renaming in my opinion. There was nothing wrong with his previous name, but I don't know, a lot of things were changed in this game, so whoopie-doo. Anyways, this fight is really fun, because not only does it take advantage of the small arena that you have, so you have to basically use switching party members to your advantage, and also each party member's specific abilities and attack types to defeat Apps in the easiest way you possibly can. So for example, when Apps is far away and he's doing something like a charge move, you use Aerith, but then when he's stood still at a decent range and he's not throwing that many attacks, you be Cloud, because he has the more powerful attack at this stage, as well as a little bit more flexibility than Aerith. But then if you want to get in some really fast combos, you'll probably pick Tifa, because she can attack faster than Cloud can while doing some significant damage depending on the abilities chosen. And also, if you use your fire materia, you can take advantage of his weaknesses. So it's a really fun fight that encourages you to use what you have on you, just similar to what the Crab Warden did a few chapters earlier, as well as the Airbuster. But once Apps is defeated and he runs off, we begin to explore the sewers, which is where the chapter begins to drift off in its entertainment, to say the least. So the sewers all look the same, like every corridor and this little sewer bridge thing will get you confused. I certainly got confused the first time going through it, and I did not appreciate it at all. You'll hear the battle theme a lot, like all of a sudden you'll just be walking along and then you just start hearing dun 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 dun, and it just gets really annoying after a while. But obviously it doesn't take long to get through these battles, apart from when you're fighting these fucking crabs, which take forever to kill for some reason. But yeah, the sewers is it's a lot longer than it needs to be, I think. It shouldn't be this long. We have some more interesting stamp lore provided with it, and obviously we get a kind of fun mini game where we see Aerith and Tifa pump this valve, but apart from that, that's really it. There's nothing much going on in this chapter other than its lore and the characters anticipating what they might see on surface when they arise. It's not the most entertaining of chapters, but it does have a really good beginning, which is a shame, because similar to chapter 5, which started really good, it went a little bit shit. So it's just one of those things, like, you can't predict what a chapter's going to do in this game, unfortunately. So while this chapter does have its good beginnings and a really fun boss fight, it unfortunately begins to drop off towards the end. Oh boy, chapter 11. Now, I'm having a really hard time at the minute ranking this chapter, because I'm so tempted to put this as the worst chapter in the game, but also chapter 6 is a really good competitor for that title. Now, I am making a video at the moment. Well, when I finish making Remake review, I'm going to make the video. But I'm ranking every chapter, basically, and I'm going to tell you why. I'll put it in that spot, and I can't decide between 11 and 6 is the worst. Because while 6 had awful level design, very boring puzzles, and not very fun lore, but amazing characters, this chapter has the good lore. The characters are a little bit dull, to be honest with you. The level design also sucks. The atmosphere is cool, but it's not fun to play through. It's just really boring, and it gets on your nerves. So I don't know. It's just when I play through the game, like when I replay the game, should say, I skip this chapter. I don't bother playing it because I don't see the point. The only good part about this chapter is probably the fight with the big ghost and Eligo, but even the fight with the ghost isn't even that good. Like, even though it does, give you, well, it encourages you to use what you have, and also to assess the enemy to see what it's vulnerable to and how to defeat it quicker, rather than just spamming attacks and hoping for the best like you normally would. It's still not that great of a fight, because it's literally just hack and slash, dodge, maybe guard every now and then. and when it changes colour, switch to Aerith, or just use magic. It's literally, that's all it is, and it's just, I don't know. I was never able to come to grips with this fight and how it could be entertaining. But that's just me. I don't know. You guys might like this fight, but I certainly didn't. But going through it more, we see a little bit more about, obviously how the ghosts begin to fuck with you essentially by moving around the trains and honking noises, or even appearing as other little human children, which is pretty interesting because the train graveyard is its own thing now. It's actually, it feels haunted rather than you fighting a couple of ghost enemies in a turn-based combat that's slow. It feels like it's an actual thing. But the best part of the chapter, in my opinion, I shit you not, is probably the fact that you can see the Sector 7 plate being bombed in the background. That is the best part of the chapter. And it's not even in relation to the current chapter. So what the fuck else do I need to say? It's just, it's not that good or interesting. That's all I can say about this chapter. It's just, it's meh. Now, and you can tell I'm waffling here because I'm trying to extend the length of my video here because I don't want another under 10-minute video. But I don't know. I need to think of something to talk about in this chapter because there's really nothing to say. I mean, yeah, we get this cool scene with Aerith being a child and how she was always left out. Well, it's not cool, but it was emotional and it did hit me. It really did hit me. But that's it. The Elego fight was alright, I guess, and just like in the original, you can steal a weapon from him, but that's it. That is literally it. I don't have anything else to say about this chapter. Chapter 12, in my opinion, is the best chapter in the game. Yeah, we're coming from one of the worst to the best. Now let me explain. So, before we go anywhere, I need to talk about the start of this chapter because it's the worst part, easily. It just feels really forced. So, you'll start the chapter, and you can feel the stakes as everyone's rushing to get to the plate, and all of a sudden, the Spectres show up, and I'm just not all for this idea at all. I hate this so much because it just feels forced. Now, it makes sense why they're there, because they're trying to prevent us from going to the pillar, and if the original events unfold, then the pillar's going to collapse and everyone's going to die, blah blah blah. So that's why they show up. I understand why they need to show up here, but that doesn't mean they had to. Like, they really didn't. They could just make us go to the pillar and just do the thing, because that's literally the pinnacle of this game, because it starts to feel more like a film than it does a game. And now that's not a bad thing. Like, the gameplay still rocks, it's still super fun, but when they're getting you this attached to the story and its characters, this is when the game begins to shine. Absolutely, this fucking rocks. But the start, not so much. Anyways, I'm going to stop talking about the Spectres. We're going to move on forward now, and we get to the plate, well, underneath the plate, I should say. And we have Wedge falling off, like he does in the original, this time with a grapple hook, so it doesn't look like he just falls off and fucking splats on the pavement. He actually has a reason to survive. We can obviously hear him in agony. We can hear him talking about Biggs, how he protected him. So obviously we're already feeling the stakes. Wedge has been shoved off. Biggs has probably been shot because Wedge was saying they were shooting at him. We're feeling it, and then obviously we switch to Cloud. We start running up, blah 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 blah. So on and so forth. So yeah, we start running up the tower, and Jesus Christ, on a bicycle. This is the most emotional I've ever felt during any game ever. I'm not going to say film, because I've been more emotional to a film, but when it comes to a game, this beats the original FF7. I'm trying to think of any other game that I've been in tears to, really. I don't think there is one. I mean, I shed some tears to 10, Final Fantasy 10, original Kingdom Hearts, and I don't think anything else. It's only Square games that have really made me cry. No other game has made me cry. So that's cool, I suppose. Anyways, so this time we actually feel the devastation, because we had a whole chapter dedicated to Avalanche and getting attached to them. Well, unlike in the original, they had like 4 lines of dialogue each, and then they just fucking dies. Like, this is good shit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let my reactions play, so you can see how I reacted to these death scenes, essentially. So here's my reaction to Biggs' death.
Biggs! You made it. No, I might not. Hey, Is Wedge?
Don't worry. He'll bounce back.
That's good to hear. Could have used some extra padding myself.
Don't talk.
It's pretty bad up there. Cloud, promise me, don't let it be for nothing.
I won't.
You're a good man. Giving me that comfort. Oh, one more thing. The Leaf House. It's an orphanage. In the Sector 5 slums. The kids, they're great. I used to visit.
That you'll have to do yourself.
Let me guess. Not a fan of kids.
No.
But you have so much in common. Good luck, Cloud. Our future is in your hands.
This isn't over.
Yeah, this hit me. This is where the game. This is where I realized this game was doing something other than banking off my nostalgia, because any other time I shed tears during this game was happiness, joy, nostalgia. This is where the emotion starts coming to play. This is where everything starts coming full circle. Halfway through the game, it's where they start bringing it all around and they just pile it onto you all at once. And this is great. I really do like this. But we continue moving up the tower to the incredibly amazing score. Like this, the score for this entire scene is amazing. But as we run up, fighting all the enemies to the music in the background, which literally, if you had to describe it in one word, it's sorrow. You just feel like you don't want to fight. You just want to stand there and just weep over the loss. You don't want to keep moving. You don't want to fight anyone. You just want to keep going. Like, you don't want to keep going. You want to go back. You want to do all you can to prevent this, but at the same time, you don't want to keep going because you might know what awaits you. It's one of those things where it just doesn't, where the game makes you want to go, but you don't want to go, essentially, because you know what's going to happen. It's just one of those things. I absolutely love that. It reminds me of Crisis Core, when you know how the game's going to end, even if you don't, if you have no recollection of the original FF7, you will know how this game ends pretty much. And that's the good thing about this chapter. It reminds me of that, and it's fucking amazing. Anyway, we carry on. Tifa comes with us this time with a pretty hilarious interaction with Rude. I really like this, how they're calling back to him having the hots for Tifa this early on in the game. You know, not revealing this outside of Gongaga, which is really cool.
Damn it! You want to explain yourself, partner?
Anyways, we carry on going, and then we see Jessie. Oh no! This was the worst one. I'm gonna let my reaction play to Jessie right now.
Jessie! Jeez. Tifa. If you could see the look on your face. So, you're the guy who gets to hear my last words. Lucky me.
Like hell they're your last.
It's okay, Cloud. It's okay. They were my bombs. They were all my victims. I had it coming. My hero. So gentle.
Just try to hang on.
So dramatic. I just wish that I could have had you over again. Everyone with Mom's cooking. I really wanted to believe we could.
Yeah. You owe me a pizza.
That's right. I do. But I don't think... Oh no. Tifa's crying. Did I say something wrong? Don't you guys have somewhere to be? It's not polite to stare, you know. Jesse.
Hey.
And that was Jesse's scene, and I was a hot mess after this. I was a big hot mess after I saw this. I carried on one more floor, and I shit you not, I paused the game. I paused the game, and I took a break. Now, this doesn't sound like it's a big deal, but I've never ever taken a break from a game in my life because of emotion. I've taken a break because of a headache or frustration, but not emotion. I've never had to pause a game and walk away from it because I was too wrapped up in what was going on in the game. I applaud Final Fantasy VII Remake for doing this to me. You get to a point in a film where you might know what's going to happen, and you'll just basically close your eyes and try and block it out. For example, when I was seeing Avengers Endgame in theaters, well, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Endgame yet, so I'll just cover your ears really, or whatever. But when Stark dies, and you sit through the 5-minute funeral, or however long it was a long time. I was just sat there trying to look away from the screen, but also looking at it, because obviously I wanted to keep watching, I wanted to see what happens, but I don't want to see it because I'm getting too emotional, and I don't want to be sat there crying like a emotional wreck in front of everyone. It's just, that's what this scene and this chapter did to me. It's incredible. It's so good how this happens. But yeah, so we see Jesse pass, we continue to the top to join Barrett, and we have our rematch with Reno and also Rude. They jump in to do a tag team on us. The fight is relatively easy. Once again, Rude is the easiest part of the fight, but he can now trap you in pyramids, which is nice. Recalling to the original game. But then obviously Reno will be the hard part. Just got to parry him, etc. It's strategic, and I like it. It's really fun. But after this, we then get to the ending of the chapter, which is when the plate comes down because Rude presses the fucking button, which is different because in the original it was Reno that presses the button. The cast scurry to find a way out until they find a zip wire, just like in the original. There's gorgeous CGI cutscene plays, and the chapter fades out. I'm going to let the entire cutscene play, and I will end the video with a verdict as text on screen like I did on the last video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.